Hello everyone, thanks for joining me today. My name is Laura Stranks and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. Just a few reminders before we start today. If you like what you see on my video, you can join this group here, Laura's Craft Room Tips and Tutorials. All my videos will be uploaded there after they go live, and then I will have a PDF in there in the files section of Laura's Craft Room Tips and Tutorials. You can get all the measurements and instructions of how to construct your card, plus you can watch the video playback later. I also have another Facebook group, which is Cards by Laura. You can go on here anytime. You can join. I can, if you just tick the join button, then I'll go in and join you through. Cards by Laura is mainly where it is where I put all my cards that I've created over the years. I've been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for about 6.5 years now, 7 years coming up in February next year. So just hop on there and have a look at some of the cards. I'm happy for you to case any of them, or if I can get you instructions. Some of them I don't do instructions for because they're just the standard card base, but any of the fancy fold ones, I've got PDFs for all of those. So if you need anything, just put a comment in there, or you can private message me. So that's my little spiel for the start. And we'll just go on and get started for today. Now, today's card, I have designed this one. Now, it is a fold that's been around for quite a while. It's called a double-sided shutter-fold card. I'm going to be doing it in a different paper and colour today. This one I've used the Perfectly Pencil DSP, which is a favourite of mine. It's all black and white, so you can team any colour with it. It looks nice with Blackberry Bliss with black and white. Any colour would suit. I've added a few extras onto mine, which we'll be doing again today. The stamp set I used was Art Gallery, which both of the Perfectly Pencil DSP and the Art Gallery in the annual catalogue. Art Gallery's on page 39 and the DSP's on page 133. And I've coloured a few just basic pearls and added those to the front. We're going to do similar today, but in totally different colours and a bit of a different design for the greetings and the embellishments. So that's the card for today. Now we'll get started. I've typed up these measurements, so I'll just leave them here for a few minutes while I talk you through a few things. If you want to take a screenshot, this PDF, as I mentioned earlier, will be uploaded into my Cards by Laura Tips and Tutorials. I will put all the measurements, and these are the measurements, and the instructions as well will go in there. When it needs, I sometimes put a little template of the layout. I have done a separate template today, so you can have a look at that as we go. It's not a difficult design to do, so we'll get started. If you've got your screenshot of that, it's got all the measurements on there. Now, I'll just go through the pieces with you first. I'll start at the base here, and we'll go upwards. That's one of my little bits that goes at the back. Now the base, which is this, I have used Coastal Cabana on my base on that one. This one is Fresh Freesia, and it's 8 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I haven't scored anything yet. I want to show you how to score. I have got a template here of the scoring on it, so we can go through that first. I'm going to score at 1, 2, and 3 inches, and then rotate. There is a different way of doing it, but I prefer this way because you get even spacings both sides. So we'll go back to that. Then we have the 3 centerpieces, and I'll put this card here. These 3 centerpieces here, the top and bottom one are the same size, and the center one is a little bit wider, but they all measure 4 inches long. The top and bottom one are 3/4 of an inch, and these are the mats. Why don't I just get this apart for you? So this is Gorgeous Grape. I've teamed it with the Fresh Freesia. They go nicely together. Gorgeous Grape measurements are 3/4 of an inch for these two, and 4 inches wide, 4 inches long. Then the centerpiece, which is a little bit wider, it's 1 1/4 inches by 4 inches, and you need 1 of those and 2 of those. Then the DSP. Now what I've done with the DSP, and I've marked my top one, which is that one, and then that one. I sort of wanted to line up. This one here didn't matter so much because the flowers were sort of all over the place, but this one here I've lined up. I cut a solid piece to start with. So how I did that, that's the mats. This is the DSP. I think I gave you the wrong. This is that first, those, I'm back to front here. These mats here are 7/8 by 4 1/8, and the center one is 1 3/8 by 4 1/8. So that first lot of measurements I gave you was the DSP. Now we'll go to the DSP, and it is, the top and bottom are 3/4 by 4 inches, and the center one is 1 1/4 by 4 inches. So that's those. And what I did, I cut 1 solid piece. So I added 2 of 3/4, which is 1 1/2, and then 1 of the 1 1/4. So that gave me 3 3/4. So I cut a piece 3 3/4 by 4 inches length. Then I cut the 3 sections separate, so that when you put them together, especially if you've got, this is probably not so much a directional pattern, but I did get them to line up. As you can see, the tip of this blue flower is up here, so my pattern's lined up. If you've got a really distinctive directional pattern, it is nice to line them up. So all you've got to do is add the 3 measurements together and then cut them afterwards. They're all 4 inches long, so cut them afterwards, and that way you line your pattern back up. I did mark my top one, which is this one here, so I'm going to make sure that goes at the top, and those 3 will go down like that. So that's those 3. We'll put them aside. Then I've got these side panels here, and there's 4 of those. The mats are in Gorgeous Grape again. They're 7/8 wide, which is this colour here at the back, and 5 3/8 length. And there's 4 of those because I've got 2 at the front and 2 at the back. The side vertical DSP, which is these ones there, which I've used. This is out of the Hues of Happiness DSP set. Love, love, love this paper. They are 3/4 of an inch by 5 1/4, and there's 4 of those. So and I've already stuck them down so we can go a little bit quicker with the video today. My 2 front ones, now I've changed this up a bit. This is my back panel, and I've got my small here. Got them all joined up here. The front and back, these Gorgeous Grape pieces are 2 1/8 by 5 3/8, and you need 2 of those. Now the front, on the front of this one I've used the DSP, but on this one I've chosen to do another white panel, so you'll have 2 the same here. They're in the basic white, and they're 2 inches wide by 5 1/4 inches long, and there's 2 of those. You can just use DSP at the front, which is just a nice and quick way of doing it, and the back here, that's where you can write your greeting. And I've got some decoration to go at the top here with my greeting, and we'll get to that shortly. So that's those 2. And then that's my decoration for the front. We won't go into that one yet. I'll show you how I did it after. And there should be 4 of these, which is these little ones. These, the gorgeous grape part of these are these little back sections here. On the original layout that I saw, they didn't put anything on the back here, but I thought it looked nice with a little bit of extra decoration. So the gorgeous grape is 7/8 by 7/8, and then the DSP, which I've chosen the same as the side strips at the front, the same down here. It's 3/4 by 3/4 of an inch. So they're just little squares that go on there. And there's 4 of those for the back. And that's all our pieces. Now we'll get on to doing this scoring and cutting. The cutting is a little bit involved, but it's not super difficult. I'll just make sure I'm in focus in camera here. So going by this, I'm going to score on the long side. So you've got the long side at the top at 1 inch. Now I find it easier to do this way. I've got my cutter blade out of the road. As I mentioned in my last video, I always put my cutter blade below my scoring blade so I can get it right out of the road. If it's up here, if you've got them the other way around, it tends to sit up here and it's easy enough to grab the wrong blade. So we're going to go 1 inch, 2 inches, and 3 inches. Then you could keep going across to the next measurement over here, but I found it, I always find it easier if you're doing an even-sided card with your folds. It's easier to flip it 180 degrees and go, and I'm probably out of camera a little bit, 1 inch, 2 inches, do the same measurements as you did on the first side. That's if you've got even folding on each side of your card. 1, 2, and 3. And that way also you haven't got to open your arm up, because I think we went across to 5 1/4, 6 1/4, 7 1/4, which you're working in quarters as well. So that's the scoring on that. Now I'm going to put, I'll just see how I go. I did choose a light colour so it is easier to follow. We need to cut, and I'll just get my instructions so I make sure I cut in the right sections here. From the left edge, we're going to line the cutting arm up at the 1 inch mark. So that's there. It's 1 inch on the left hand side. Make sure it's even all the way around. And we're going to cut from, this is where we need our cutting blade, from that first 1 inch. I'll just make sure I've got it. I'll stand up for this. Hopefully I won't put my head in your camera. I'm going to go from the 1 inch mark there. I do have a thing over this side, but it's easier to line it up. I put just a piece of paper underneath my blade on this side because you can't, it's really hard to see the black lines through a clear plate. So I've got that there lined up at the 1 inch mark, and I'm just double check. Yes, I'm going from 1 inch, and hold this arm up until you're ready to cut, and you've got your blade at the 1 inch, and you're going to cut down to 3 inches, just there, keeping the cardstock in place. Lift the arm up, go down to 5 1/4, which should be on this score line here if you've scored correctly. That's 5 1/4 there. Drop the arm and go down to 7 1/4, which is there. Then you can lift it up and you'll see you've cut between the score lines on both sides. We're going to go across to the 2 inch mark and do exactly the same. Back up, keep your arm up until you're ready to cut. Line it up at the 1 inch mark, down to the 3 and cut. Lift it up down to the 5 1/4. Down there, drop it and go down to the 7 1/4, which is there. These would have been, the 5 1/4 and 7 1/4 would have been the measurements if you'd have scored straight the way across, but as I did it, I turned it. Then we're going to go across to 4 1/2, no, 3 1/2, sorry, first. 3 1/2. Should have highlighted these, yep, 3 1/2. Keep the arm up, go from 1 inch, drop your blade down to 3 inches, and then up, down to 5 1/4. They're all exactly the same cutting. 5 1/4, down to 7 1/4. If you think you're going to go too far with your cut, it's better to go shorter on the cut than longer, because you can always snip it with your scissors. And then we're going to go down to the 4 1/2, moving this down to 4 1/2. Arm up, line it up at the 1 inch, down to 3 inches. If you muck it up, you could go, oh dear, I've mucked it up, and start again. Then down to 5 1/4. Just don't drop your arm until you know you've got it in the right spot. And then down to 7 1/4. So that's that. So that's all our cut lines. That's all you need to do. The rest is pretty simple once you've got that done. Now, and I have put which way you fold these on the PDF. The outside score lines, these two on the outside, they come in as a valley fold. I'll just get my bone folder. Valley folds on the outside. The next score line comes inwards. I'm going to go these come, where did I get my original card? It's easier to look at a card. So that's my outside score lines. It's a valley. So the next one, the top, middle and bottom, so that's this one, top one, the middle one, that one will go, the second one will go backwards into a valley. It's easier to fold it this way. If you're looking, even if you're not looking at a card, just follow my PDF and it'll tell you which way they go. So the third one here, the wider one, it's going to come up as a mountain, and then it will fall into place there. So then if you push that down, you will get that. Then you can fold and burnish those nicely. And on the back. So that's that side. Now you're going to do the same. Once you've done one side, it's easy to follow the second side. So the top score line comes up into a mountain. The second one goes down into a valley. If you just give them a light crease to start with, they'll fall into place, and then you can push them solid. See, those fell into place. Just remember the three main ones that you're going to decorate, they come up into mountains, if you can remember that. And then the other two fold backwards. Don't worry, when I did the sample card yesterday, I had to keep making sure that it was the right way. So that's how we go with that. My cutting's a little bit out there, but I'm not too worried about that. Now we can decorate. So I'll put these, we can see from there, these outside ones, front and back, are going to go down this side, and that side and to the back as well. And I'll just get my silicone mat, which I cleaned this morning because it was a little bit grotty, and Tombow. I don't know if anyone can see, I have a bruise here. I bruise quite easily. I had some washing. I was hanging out the other day, and we go out through a little side gate here where I live, and I thought the gate was still wide open, and I reached over to, not looking because I had the basket of washing in my hand, and I reached over to shut the gate, and it had already swung partway shut, and I slammed my hand into the catch on the gate, and it came up. I thought I'd busted a blood vessel at first because it came up in a little lump just here, and then that was, what day was it? One day last week, Thursday, I think, Thursday or Friday. And I told my hubby, and he said, be more careful. That's his solution for everything. So that's those two, and then you can flip it over and do the back side as well. I love this paper. It's so versatile. I do workshops regularly, monthly. If anyone's interested in, if they live in Brisbane anywhere, or Southside in particular, if you would like to come to my workshops, they are held on the first Sunday of every month. The next one is on the first Sunday in August. Yes, and we have a lot of fun. We do 4 cards. It's $22 for the 4 cards. Everything is cut and prepped. Well, not everything. All the bases and the mats are cut for you. You do have to do your own die cutting here and embossing and any stamping and stuff like that. That didn't stick too well. I'll put some more glue on that one. Yes, and we go, it's on a Sunday, and we go from 9:30 in the morning until round about 1:30, 2 o'clock usually, depends on how quick they are and how involved the cards are. I supply morning tea, a little bit of cake and biscuits and stuff, cheese and bickies, and you bring your own lunch. Sometimes we finish before lunch, so the ladies just take their lunch home with them and have it on the way home. But it's a fun day. Now I've marked the top one of this. Make sure I get it the right way. These are the center panels that are going across this way. I'll just make sure I've got this pattern right. I should have left them where I had them sitting. Yes, that way, because that blue lines up with that. I'll just make sure I'm getting them the right way. And then I think this goes the other way. Yes. So that will go down there, that one will come up there, and this one in the center. This here will get covered with the panel that goes vertical. So we'll put those on. I always cut all my pieces first when I'm doing a card, all your mats and all your DSP. Start off choosing what colour you want. Usually pretty much I choose my stamp set last. I choose my papers first, my DSP and coordinating cardstock in the colours I want, and then I choose which pattern in the paper I want to use that coordinates with each other. Most of them do because they're designed that way with the colours. The colours for your cardstock for each of the DSPs is on the back of your packet. It tells you all the colours in that pack of cardstock, so it's easy enough to work out what colours go with your paper. I think it's brilliant the way Stampin' Up help so much with their, and then the dies and flat and stamp set and everything coordinates with that again. Most of these cards, they're pretty much just the paper. I find I love Stampin' Up! DSP, and I find it's so easy to create a nice card just using the DSP and a little bit of decoration. Now, I remember years ago, we didn't have dies that lined up with your DSP. Now you've got, especially this one, there's parts of the DSP that you can cut out with your dies. So that makes it even easier. I did do a bit of fussy cutting today for this one. I love fussy cutting. I think I've mentioned that before on my videos. So some of the flowers that I wanted to use, the smaller ones, they didn't have the die to coordinate. So I've used different ones. Now I'll finish the front of this. This one here, this is the die out of the Happiness Abounds stamp set and matching dies called, I don't know if I wrote it in, no, I haven't put any specific stamp set or DSP on the PDF. I've mentioned the colour that I used, the Fresh Freesia and the Gorgeous Grape. That way you can choose your own DSP. So this one's going on the front and it lines up in the centre here. And then I fussy cut these flowers out of the paper. This is one complete image, and I've just fussy cut around. This little greeting, again, out of my favourite stamp set, Charming Sentiments. I've got this little Just For You, and I put that in the middle. I have put my dimensionals on the back already. I have put the greeting flat because there's a lot of bulk in this. I've got this up on dimensional, so I didn't want to make it higher again. It's a little bit thick already. So then I put the greeting flat. And then that's the Happiness Abounds stamp set, and the die for that is this one here, which is just gorgeous for a detailed die. I didn't use any of the other dies, and I didn't use the stamp set in this. I've just used this intricate die here, which cuts out. And I just did the one image. Sometimes if you've got a longer piece or a wider piece, you can die cut it a couple of times so it fills the whole page. But I'm going to stick this down first, and then we'll go to the back. And I've got some embellishments. I'm going to use the pastel pearls in. There's a Gorgeous Grape colour in there on the pastel pearls, which pastel pearls have been around for a little while now, and they match up nicely. If you don't have the same colour as what you're doing in a pearl, use your blends. They colour pearls beautifully, but I do them either the day before or a couple of hours before, so it gives them time to dry, because if you try and pick them up off the sheet before they're dry, you tend to wipe the colour off. So yeah, give them a little while to dry before you're ready to use them. So I've got that there, and I'm just going to put that there at the top. I've already put all my dimensionals on to save a bit of time. As you can see, I've used quite a few. I like my greetings and my details sitting up nicely, so I make sure it doesn't cave in the middle. And I've put the greeting so it's going to sit straight. I worked it out that this is going to sit nicely in the centre here. So get your greeting straight, as straight as you can, and that will sit up in there. You could tie a little bow down here. I've chosen the embellishments. I'm going to do the back first before I put my embellishments on. So this one here, I've fussy cut this little flower and the leaves were attached to that. So I've gone around the whole image. It's off one of the patterns in the paper. And then I've just attached that to the white mat. And we shall put that in the middle. That's where you can write your greeting. write your little wording bit. And that goes in there. Then we have these 4 little pieces. I just felt like that it looked a bit unfinished with the bits in the middle, so that's why I put my other 4 little pieces, which now I have lost. They're here somewhere. Here they are. Oh, this is I'll show you this now. This is the template I did. So I've got the score marks marked down this way, 1, 2, and 3, and then turn it around, do 1, 2, and 3, and then I've got where you cut. I shall take a photo of this and put it on the PDF, but if the instructions that as they are should make sense anyway. So you're coming down 1 inch and you're cutting from the 1 inch to the 3. So I've got cut from 1 inch to 3 inch, 1 inch to 3 inch, and 1 inch to 3 inch there. You can do all that top bit first. I went this way, so you're not moving your cardstock across. So you'll do this one first, and then this one here cut from 5 1/4 to 7 1/4. Move it across to the 2 inch mark and do the same. So that's my template for that. I shall take a photo of that and put it on for you in case it's a sort of a little bit more of a help. So when you fold this shut, these little pieces are going to go on that top panel. I did get my tweezers out, but not too bad. I think I'll move that around. This is not really directional paper, so these are quite fiddly to put on. You don't need to put these bits on, but I just thought it finished the back off a little bit better. And you can do a different pattern. It doesn't have to line up with the same pattern. I just felt it was a little bit more coordinated with the same pattern at the side, and then that pattern matches the front as well. So you're mixing up your patterns a little bit. I'm at Silver Elite. When I started 6.5 years ago, I was just going to be a hobby demonstrator, just buy for myself and play along. I used to do scrapbooking before I started cards, and before I was having classes with a lady who is my upline for quite a few years before I even joined up, and I thought, why don't I save myself some money and just join up and then just buy for myself. Anyway, it went from there, and 6.5 years, well, beginning of this year I elevated to Silver Elite. I've got 10 ladies under me, and one of those has got some girls under her, so I've gone to Silver Elite. And yes, love what I do. I love teaching. I love creating cards. I love fun fold cards and 3D projects. I do a lot of, created this card, which some of you may have seen on Facebook. There's a Stampin' Up share group and also the demonstrator planning place, and I created that card the other day, which I got a lot of beautiful comments. It's just got another little flower stamped inside, and that was out of the Abigail Rose paper. Now I've got my embellishments. There is a darker one here, a darker purple, which I wanted to use. As you can see, I love my embellishments. I'll start this new one. Looks like I've used more gorgeous grape than anything else. All of my embellishments have their own, which you can't get these anymore. They have their own cases, so I haven't got all different embellishments in each case. This is all pastel pearls. So that way, and then they're stuck in my cupboard. That way I can just go to that. And the little smiley face on here indicates that it's current. So because I do my workshops and I only use current products, it's easy for me to grab out what I want for the workshop and not use retired products. I do keep a lot of retired products, but I also sell a lot as well once they retire. I'm just going to put these, decorate this down the front, and we shall go over here with this one. Actually, we'll go over here so they're triangle down that way. And that is it. That is my card for today. I hope you enjoyed that. I love the colours in this. My favourite colour is blue, but I think next is purple and pink. So, and that's the back of the card. And that's how it goes. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed today. If you haven't already subscribed, go on and subscribe to my channel. It's called Creative Gems, but you'll get notification once you subscribe when I live, put my videos up live. Share my video as well with your friends, and thanks again for watching, and I'll have another fun fold next week for you. And stay safe, especially with COVID and the flu around the way it is. Keep well, and I'll catch you all then. Bye for now.